Hey everybody, how about today with the weather changing and Christmas around the corner, we talk about starter bikes, real starter bikes, like 50cc dirt bikes for kids.
Hello.
Hey YouTube, it's motomattman. I've had a lot of people ask me questions on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook and whatnot about getting my kids started on riding dirt bikes. This is the bike that Mrs. Motomattman and I chose for our oldest to start on, and then she passed it down to our youngest, who now rides it. This is a Yamaha PW50. It's a 49cc single cylinder 2-stroke with a shaft drive. It's got drum brakes in the rear and drum brakes in the front. Even though it's a 2-stroke, it's pretty cool because it's got this reservoir here to make it so it's auto lube, so there's no mixing of the gas and the oil. You put your 2-stroke oil right in there and it mixes it for you. You've got an oil pump that mixes it for you. It's a carbureted model bike. It did not come with training wheels. We bought training wheels for our youngest. Our oldest did not start on training wheels, and I'll get more into the training wheels in a bit. It's a pretty straightforward bike. Kickstart is on the left, not on the right. I'll talk about that in a minute too. It didn't come with these foot pegs. It came with just a regular bar with rubber on it. I didn't like those, so I switched out those foot pegs that I got from PW only. The Yamaha PW50 has been around a long time. I want to say that it's been around since the 70s, if not the 70s, the early 80s. And it's really unchanged. I mean, they changed the style of the wheels, and they changed the color of the plastics and maybe the graphics on it. But that's really about it. Since it's an automatic, there is no shifter, and there's no rear brake pedal. The rear brakes are up here in the clutch position, and the front brake is where the front brake belongs. Not so sure that that's one of the features that I'm real happy about. I'd rather it be a foot brake for the rear instead of a hand brake. Reason for that being, when my oldest moved up to her CRF80 and had to shift, now all of a sudden she's grabbing the clutch to put on the rear brake. She no longer does that, but that was something she had to overcome in the beginning. It's a great bike, pretty much maintenance free because it is a shaft drive instead of a chain drive, so there's no chain to oil. Change the oil, make sure you've got 2-stroke oil in it, good gas in it. Change the spark plug every once in a while, and clean the air filter, and that's it. You know, making sure there's air in the tires. But that's it. Now, as far as the training wheels that we got, they just mount up here where the foot peg goes, and you still use the foot peg along with the training wheels. A lot of heated debate that I've seen over the use of training wheels, yes or no, to do it. I understand that they could create some bad habits. Kids using handlebars to turn, not leaning the bike to turn. We used them for our youngest because she wasn't able to ride a bicycle without training wheels yet. But what we did was we just had her going in straight lines with the training wheels on, so she could get used to working the throttle and working the brakes. Once she was accustomed to using the throttle and the brakes, by that time the training wheels were off the bicycle, and we took the training wheels off the PW, and off she went. No bad habits, because all she was doing was going in a straight line anyway. It's just to get her used to the throttle and the brakes. It is an older design, so it does have dual rear shocks instead of a mono shock. That's the only thing I can really find as a downfall. I mean, no mono shock, and the fact that it doesn't have a rear foot brake. You're not going to take your kid and buy one of these and go out and win a ton of motocross races in the 50cc class, an open class with a PW50. There are some modifications that can be made. You could turn it into a mono shock. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. It does over here have this little screw right here. Hopefully I'm getting that on camera. That is a throttle adjustment so that you can use it as a governor to limit the throttle. Along with that, there is like a washer type thing that's in the exhaust. You can remove the exhaust and pull that washer out. That washer limits the amount of exhaust flow that there is and increases the back pressure. Removing that, it works as a governor, so removing that gives you a little bit more power. But to be perfectly honest, the suspension and whatnot is not really set up for hardcore motocross, even at 50cc level. And later in this video, I'm going to go over some of the other models that are available and what the prices of all of them are, at least what the manufacturer's suggested list price is right now. So we'll go over the Honda and the Suzuki. Kawasaki doesn't make a 50cc bike. KTM does, and they have multiple bikes that are available, and we'll talk about them later on. Like I said, the kicker is on the left side, which is kind of goofy. But if you were going to start the bike, you'd pull the kicker out, turn the gas on, and if you notice, the fuel petcock works backwards too, because this is on and this is off. Whereas normally that's off and that's on. It's kind of goofy, but it is what it is. And then up here, you flip the choke on. Here's your switch. Turn it to start. Give it a kick. Ah, you had it. Ah, it's not going to cooperate for me. Had the choke all the way on, didn't need it all the way on. But anyway, that's how you'd start it. I think the kicker being on this side is so you can stand off the bike like this and kick it with your right foot as opposed to straddling the bike. I think that's why it's that way. That's the only thing that I can figure. I always straddle it to start it. I tried starting it the other way, but anyway, this is what you got. And because it's an automatic, you see that rear wheel spins whenever you give it throttle. And just while it's idling, that rear wheel will spin. It sits on a center stand instead of a kickstand for that very reason. We'll shut this puppy off. And then we'll move to a little voiceover. It'll probably be the girls riding their dirt bikes, and I'll talk about the other bikes that are available in the 50cc class. And what I see is pluses and minuses about them for starting your kid off on a dirt bike. Okay, I'm back, and now I'll talk a little bit about the different options of bikes. I talked about the PW50 that my kids have started out on. Now I'll talk a little bit about some of the other bikes that are available. First of all, sad for me, but Kawasaki doesn't offer a 50cc bike anymore. They jump right to 60cc's, and it's a little race bike. You know, you shift gears and everything else, so it's not just a bigger bike. It's not really the bike for, you know, 4, 5, 6-year-old to start on. It's really not. So they really don't have anything to offer. Now Suzuki, which is what I started on a JR50. They now have a DRZ50. And according to the website, their manufacturer listed price for that is $1,800 bucks. I think it's like $17.99, but let's be honest, it's $1,800 bucks. As opposed to the PW50 that I talked about was a shaft drive, the DRZ50 is a chain drive. It is still an automatic. It doesn't have 2 hand brakes. It does actually have a rear foot brake, which I talked about was something that I liked. It's electric start, and it's a 4-stroke. The electric start is a really cool thing, but I'll be honest, on a little 50cc bike, to me, it may be a bit much. You know, it's one more thing to break on one of these little bikes. And one of the things you want to keep in mind with the little bike is if you don't have somebody to hand it down to, it is something that you can turn around and sell, because everybody's always looking for one. And that electric start may be one more thing to go wrong with the bike. The other thing is with the electric start, it makes it a little bit easier for the kid to start it up on their own and take off. But again, it's a 4-stroke, so now there's no longer any mixing oil with gas, and that's what you get from Suzuki. Honda's offering is the cheapest of all of them. It starts out at $1,600, manufacturer suggested retail price, and it's a CRF50. It has an automatic clutch, but you do have to shift it. So it's got a shifter for the kids to get used to the idea of shifting up and shifting down, but there's no clutch to work, which actually may be a cool kind of thing. It is a chain drive, so you do have the maintenance of the chain drive, and I think all the rest of these, other than the PW50, I think they're all chain drives. So you have that to concern yourself with. And I've talked to some parents in the past, and concern that they have with the chain drive is what if the bike goes down, especially with the automatic, because they don't just shut off when they go down. The tire will keep spinning, so you could get something caught in the chain, which is something to think about. It wasn't something I really thought about when we got the PW50. I was thinking of it from the maintenance perspective, having this shaft drive and the zero maintenance there, but the chain, and what if the kid goes down, and they will go down, you know, on a regular basis. So that is something to keep in mind with it. It also has a rear foot brake, just like the Suzuki, and like the Suzuki, it's also a 4-stroke. On the list, they're on the list that I have. I've got 4 bikes, and 2 are 2-strokes and 2 are 4-strokes. Okay, the Yamaha PW50, the manufacturer's suggested retail price on it is about $1,650. I don't think it was that much when we got ours. PW50s, there are an absolute ton of them out there, and like I talked about earlier on, they're virtually unchanged. And they may be actually unchanged other than cosmetic things from day one. So there are a ton of them out there used, and if you're patient, you can find them fairly inexpensively. I mean, actually, I'll be honest with you, you can find them cheap. I've seen some online that were in good running condition as low as $500. They had some cosmetic damage to them, like the plastics. But I'll be honest, for around $100 you can get a new set of plastics for the bike. I mean, so you're talking $600 and you got a running bike. I've also seen them online, people selling them at $300, and they needed a new carburetor. You can get a new carburetor for like $28. These things, and I'm serious, like $28, new carburetor, not carburetor rebuild kit, new carburetor on Amazon for $28. And you may even be able to find them cheaper than that. One of the things I didn't mention earlier is, like I said, these bikes have been around for quite a while. They've been around so long that there are a few people, if you follow motocross or supercross at all, names that you might recognize that started out on these bikes. People like Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, Chad Reed. Yeah, they all got their start on a PW50. Really don't want to make it sound like I'm a PW50 fanboy. I know this is kind of what it sounded like, but again, this is what my kids started on. All right, now you get the KTM. I say it that way because, yeah, they have a starter bike. They actually have 3 different models of 50cc dirt bikes for kids. Their entry-level 50cc dirt bike is the KTM 50 SX Mini. It's an automatic. It has a foot rear brake. It's chain drive, and it's a 2-stroke. Now, I couldn't tell, and I haven't been to the KTM dealer in quite a while, because to be perfectly honest with you, our closest KTM dealer is almost an hour away. It's ridiculous that it's that far. I mean, and there's no Husky dealer. I mean, the closest Husky dealer is even further away than that. And if you don't know, Husky and KTM, pretty much, they're the same company. And a lot of their things are the same from one to another at this point. But here's why I chuckle about the KTM. Their entry-level 50cc dirt bike costs $3,900. Yes, $3,900. I mean, I could buy a whole lot of different bikes for myself. Used bikes for $3,900. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I find that ridiculous that their entry-level bike is that much. Now, if you're talking about you want to get a bike for your kid to learn on, and then you want your kid to be able to do some 50cc motocross racing, you buy a KTM. I mean, you want to be competitive, you want to win races, you buy the KTM. So much so that KTM has their top of the line, and I don't have the price of that one. I didn't pay attention when I was looking it up, but I've looked at these bikes before. Because my oldest daughter was actually, before she got involved in softball, was interested in racing dirt bikes. So we had taken a look at what all of the different manufacturers had to offer. And KTM's top line 50cc bike is their 50cc SX50 factory. And it's important to note the factory designation in that. And the reason it is because it comes with all the Go Fast goodies already. It's got the upgraded suspension with white power suspension, you know, the WP suspension. And I think all of theirs do. But this one has the upgraded version. I mean, it's got, I believe it's an FMF pipe already on it, but it has an aftermarket pipe on it. In all kinds of things, and it's tuned to go racing. You know, it's just got like Boyson power reeds in it and everything. And the reason they even offer that bike is because you're very limited as to what modifications you can make on these 50cc bikes for racing them. So all of the things that, like the FMF pipe and all of that stuff, you can't put that on to go racing in these lower classes. Okay? So if you buy the bike and it already has that stuff on it, you haven't modified it. It's a factory race bike. It literally is a factory race bike. And if you go out and you watch the kids racing these 50cc bikes, you will find that in the open classes, because there is a shaft drive class that for the most part is just PW50s anymore, but outside of that class, when you go into the other classes, KTM dominates. I mean, absolutely positively dominates. Those are the same bikes, I believe, that if you go to a Supercross race or you watch it on TV, watching it on TV, they'll show little clips of the kids racing the 50cc bikes, the little kids. That's what they're racing. They're racing the KTMs. All those bikes are KTMs, and that's because KTM sponsors it. But I don't know that a PW50 would go up the hill that would be a normal jump. I don't even know if it'd make it up there. And some of these kids actually get a little bit of air on these KTMs. The suspension, it's got much more suspension travel and everything on that KTM factory than any of the other bikes. But you can imagine, I mean, if you're curious, you could go online and look it up, but you can imagine that if the entry-level bike costs $3,900 and then there's a step in between that and the factory race bike, you can imagine what the price is on that. It's probably the price, to be perfectly honest with you. For some reason, in my mind, I've got like $7,400 or $7,700, something like that, in my head for the price of that bike, which tells you you could go out and you could get a brand spanking new CRF 450 trail bike for the price of what this little 50cc dirt bike is. But anyway, you know, I wanted to put all this information out there. You can do your own research, but wanted to give you a little heads up on what there is, how my kids started out. I'll go in a couple of seconds here and deal with some of the stuff that I would recommend if you're starting out to get your kids to go along with the bike. one of the things I wanted to say is I think every one of the bikes, other than the PW50, has, you know, monoshock setup. You can get a monoshock setup to convert the PW50 if you wanted to. You can get things like you can get an FMF pipe for the PW50 and all kinds of stuff to get more performance out of it. But to be perfectly honest, I think it's probably a waste of money. You know, just let the kid enjoy the bike the way that it is. If you want to change the bars out, I mean, you could even turn it into a little pit bike and ride it yourself. You know, they have high-rise bars to put on it. You know, but it is, you know, you take it for what it is. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a great starter bike. I'm not going to say you can't get hurt on it, because obviously you can. It's a dirt bike. But it's not going to get away from a kid as much as some of the other ones. And they get to learn how to make the turns and how to operate the throttle and the brakes really well on this thing, especially since it's an automatic. So when they get into shifting, they already have the rest of the stuff down. They just have to get themselves acclimated to using a rear foot brake instead of a rear hand brake along with the shifting. But they also seem to be very durable. I've ridden the thing multiple times down in the mailbox and back, and Mrs. motomattman's ridden the thing all around. But anyway, on to some of the other things. I'll be perfectly honest with you. If you're going to start your kid out, get him the proper gear. You know, get him the motocross pants. Obviously a helmet, that's a no-brainer. Proper boots. They don't have to be motocross boots. You know, you can get your kid, they're just on a 50cc bike. You could put them in boots that have a rubber sole, but have some ankle protection to them. I would recommend going ahead and spending the money and getting the dirt bike boots. Also get them a roost protector. That way, if they go down, the big thing is not that they're going to get nailed with somebody else's roost, but, you know, and the gravel coming off of their back wheel. But if they go down, you've got that protection of the chest and the back if they come down on the bars. It gives them a little bit of added protection. Obviously, a good pair of gloves. But here's the thing. You know, when you're talking about the kid, you could get the built stuff, which is a whole lot less expensive. And do that from Cycle Gear. My daughters started out using the roost protectors, Thor. My oldest had fly gear for the most part, racing gear, and then had Fox boots, and then she went to fly boots as well. My youngest has a Fox helmet, and all of her gear is Fox except for the roost protector. Her gloves, her boots, her pants, her jersey, all of that stuff is Fox. And I'm not saying you got to get Fox or you got to get Fly because they're the best. That's just what they wanted. One of the really cool things is you put the stuff on the kids, and they think they're a big shot, just like the guys on TV, and they feel cool. And that's one of the things with getting the stuff for them. I mean, and like I said, you could go to Cycle Gear and you could get the built stuff. My daughters both have built jerseys along with their others, and they're just fine, and they have no problem with them. They just think it's cool to have Fox or Fly racing stuff. But anyway, I guess that's about it. I hope this video is giving you some information if you're thinking about getting your kids, your grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, a dirt bike in the future. You know, if you're debating about it, I'll be perfectly honest. One of the best things about my kids starting riding dirt bikes is once they had ridden for a couple of weeks on their dirt bikes, you could see their confidence level grow exponentially. in everything they did. If Mrs. Motomattman saw a difference in our oldest daughter's confidence level on riding horses after riding the dirt bike. It's given both of them confidence that they could pretty much do anything that they wanted to do. And for me, the experience of them riding the bikes is worth it just for that alone. Whether they continue to ride bikes in the future or not, just the fact that it's given them that confidence that they can do anything. It's great for any kids, but I'll be perfectly honest with you, I think it's even better for the girls, because I think it really gives them that confidence that, hey, anything a boy can do, a girl can do. And when you put that that gear on, put that helmet on, and jump on that dirt bike, everything's equal. It doesn't matter how big or how strong you are. Unlike some of the other sports that you may be competing head-to-head, girls against boys, on a motorcycle, it's, especially with kids, it's no different. No matter if you're a boy or a girl, and I think that's taught our girls a very valuable lesson. But anyway, I guess that's about all I got for you. Again, I hope this helps. You know, if you like it, you know, give me a thumbs up, click that like and that subscribe button, and punch the bell. That way you get notifications whenever I upload any new content. If you're able to get out and ride, make sure you keep the shiny side up and rubber side down, no matter if you're on the street or you're on the dirt. Either way, it's a good thing if you got the shiny side up and the rubber side down. Hope you have a great day, great weekend, whenever that comes around. Anyway, thank you again. Until next time, see ya.